My dad cheated on my mom, so I exposed his secret family at the reunion. I always thought my dad was the hero of our family. The kind of man who never missed a single birthday, who grilled steaks on Sundays, who danced with my mom in the kitchen when they thought no one was watching. To everyone else, he was the perfect husband. Charming, loyal, dependable. And to me, he was the man who gave the best advice, who checked my tire pressure before road trips, who told me that men should always protect the people they love. But the thing about perfect families is that they sometimes only look perfect from the outside. I was 22 when the cracks started to show, and it happened in the most casual, random way imaginable. I was scrolling through Instagram one night, bored, procrastinating on a paper, when I stumbled on a profile tagged in one of those viral wedding reels. It wasn't the video that caught my attention. It was the man standing in the background, holding the hand of a little girl with his exact smile. My dad's smile. I froze. I zoomed in, then zoomed in again. It wasn't just the smile, it was the posture, the haircut, the watch, the gold one with the cracked clasp that he always wore like a lucky charm. It had to be him. But the caption? My world, family first, girl dad. The woman who posted it had a different last name, a different life, and no sign of knowing that the man in her photos already had a wife and daughter. Me. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. A cousin, maybe. A long-lost twin. But deep down, I already knew. I clicked through the woman's profile, heart pounding, and the evidence stacked up like a nightmare. Years of posts, birthday photos, beach trips, school events, and in almost every one of them, there he was. My dad, her man, their child. I stared at the screen for hours, sick to my stomach. It felt like a death, not just of trust, but of identity. Because if he was a lie, what did that make my whole life? I didn't tell my mom that night. I couldn't. I needed proof. I needed a plan. And most of all, I needed to make him feel what I felt. Betrayed, exposed, powerless. And as fate would have it, our big family reunion was just a few weeks away. So I made a decision. I would gather every receipt, every photo, every dirty little secret, and I would reveal the truth in front of everyone. He wasn't going to hide behind his charm this time. He was going to be unmasked. And I was going to be the one to do it. The days leading up to the reunion felt like I was living in a movie where I knew the explosion was coming, but no one else could hear the ticking clock. Every time I looked at my dad, I felt sick. He'd stroll into the kitchen, humming some old 80s tune, kiss my mom on the cheek like everything was perfect, and then ask me how school was going. How school was going. Like he wasn't living a double life. Like he wasn't slipping away on business trips that were really visits to his other family. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I smiled. I nodded. I played the role of the sweet daughter while inside I was collecting evidence like a detective building her final case. I saved screenshots of the woman's social media. I made note of dates that overlapped with his conferences. I even created a secret email account and messaged the woman, carefully, politely, asking her if she could confirm the name of the man in her pictures. She replied with a heart emoji and wrote, "That's my partner, Rob. We've been together for 12 years now." 12 years. My parents had been married 25. I had been alive for 22. That meant this wasn't some recent fling. This wasn't a one-night mistake. This was a second life. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But more than anything, I wanted justice. Because my mom, she had given everything to that man. She sacrificed her career to raise me. She stayed home while he traveled for work. She spent nights alone while he made promises over the phone he never planned to keep. So I kept planning, quietly, strategically. I backed up everything, photos, messages, timestamps, even comments from mutual friends that hinted at a hidden life. I created a slideshow. Yes, a literal slideshow. Nothing too dramatic, just subtle enough to feel classy, until you saw what it contained. Then the reunion came. A big backyard barbecue at my uncle's place. The whole extended family, cousins, aunts, grandparents, everyone. And there was my dad, flipping burgers like Father of the Year, completely unaware that this would be the day everything changed. I could have done it at dinner. I could have stood up and screamed. But that wasn't my style. I wanted it quiet, controlled, devastating. So I waited until after dessert, when the projector was being set up for the usual family memories montage. I'd quietly swapped in my file. And when the lights dimmed and the first image popped up, my hands were shaking, but my face was calm, because I knew the truth was finally about to speak for itself, and there would be no going back. The room went silent the moment the first unfamiliar photo appeared on the screen. It wasn't the usual slideshow of baby pictures and goofy family vacations. No, it was a high-resolution photo of my dad holding hands with a woman none of us had ever seen. A beach in the background, his arm around her waist like they'd been together for decades. At first, people just blinked, confused. I saw my mom tilt her head slightly, her eyes narrowing. My cousin whispered, "Who's that?" But I stayed quiet. I wanted him to speak first. I wanted to see his face the moment the walls crumbled. The next photo came up. My dad at a child's birthday party, holding a little girl in his arms, both of them wearing paper crowns. She had his eyes, his smile, that unmistakable cleft in her chin that I had, too. My stomach twisted, even though I'd seen these images dozens of times. But now they were public. Now, there was no more hiding. People started murmuring. Someone gasped. My mom stood up slowly, her hand covering her mouth. "What is this?" she asked, voice trembling. My dad was frozen in place, his jaw tight, his face pale. "Turn it off," he said sharply, eyes locked on me. But I didn't flinch. Not yet. The third slide was a screenshot of the other woman's Instagram post. "Happy anniversary to the man who gave me everything. 12 years, one beautiful daughter, and a lifetime to go. Grateful, family first." Complete with a photo of the three of them at Disneyland. My mom dropped her glass. It shattered against the patio stones, but no one even looked down. All eyes were on my father, who looked like a cornered animal. "Explain," someone said. Maybe an aunt, maybe a cousin. I couldn't tell anymore. My blood was pounding too loudly in my ears. Dad's voice came out hoarse. This isn't what it looks like." I laughed, cold, sharp. "Really? Because to me it looks like you've had two families. For 12 years. One you paraded around for holidays, and one you kept hidden like a dirty little secret." My mom was crying now, but silent, staring at the screen, at the life she didn't know she was sharing. And then the final slide came up. A side-by-side of me and the other girl. Same chin, same eyes, two daughters, one lie. People began standing, leaving, whispering. The illusion was shattered. My father, the charming, beloved man who coached Little League and made the best ribs at cookouts, was a fraud. And he knew it. He didn't say a word as I walked past him, my mom beside me, trembling but upright. I didn't look back, because the truth had finally burned through the facade. And there was nothing left to save. We drove home in silence. My mom clutched a tissue in one hand and stared out the window like she was watching a life she no longer recognized flash by. She hadn't said a word since we left the reunion, not a single syllable. And I didn't push. She needed time. We both did. But inside, I was vibrating with rage. Not just at my dad, for lying, for cheating, for living a second life while pretending we were his everything. No, I was furious at the entire lie he sold us. Because the worst part? He had convinced everyone he was good. A good father. A good husband. A good man. But good men don't kiss two women goodnight in different houses. Good men don't teach their daughters about loyalty while hiding one across town. Good men don't break a woman's soul while smiling through family dinners like nothing is wrong. By the time we got home, I had made a decision. I wasn't just going to expose him. I was going to erase him. My mom sat on the couch, still in shock, and I walked into the bedroom and started boxing things up. His photos, his clothes, the watch he loved so much, the lucky one he wore in both families' pictures. I tossed it in a shoebox and slammed the lid. Then I grabbed his laptop. I knew the password. He was predictable. And within minutes, I had access to everything. His emails, his texts, his calendar. I didn't want revenge. I wanted proof. Proof for the lawyers, for the courts, for the world if it came to that. Because this wasn't just infidelity. It was fraud. Years of deception, money spent on another household, lies told to cover his tracks, time stolen from us to give to them. My mom eventually walked into the room and sat beside me. Quiet, hollow, and then in the smallest voice she said, "Did you know before tonight?" I looked at her. My heart cracked. "Yes." She nodded slowly, eyes welling up. "Thank you for showing me." And that was when she broke. The sobs came out of nowhere, raw, guttural, unbearable. I held her as she cried into my shoulder, as everything she thought she knew shattered around her. But she wasn't alone. Not anymore, because I had made her a promise the moment I discovered the truth. He broke our family, but I was going to help her rebuild one without him. And this time, it would be built on truth, not lies. Never again. The divorce papers were filed within a week. My mom didn't wait, didn't stutter, didn't flinch. She walked into that lawyer's office like a woman who had been sleeping in a fog for 25 years and had finally woken up. I was beside her the whole time. She handed over the evidence I'd gathered, signed her name with steady hands, and walked out with her head held high. And my dad? He didn't even try to fight. At least not publicly. No angry rants, no desperate begging. Just a few pathetic texts. You ruined everything. We could have handled this privately. You embarrassed me. I didn't respond because those texts, they weren't about remorse. They were about damage control. He was mad I had shattered the perfect image he worked so hard to keep. He wasn't sorry for what he did. He was sorry he got caught. But the real fallout came from the family. Some backed us immediately. Disgusted, furious, heartbroken. Others, though, stayed silent. Or worse, tried to both sides it. It's complicated, one aunt said. Your dad made a mistake, but he still loves you, another whispered. No, he didn't. You don't love someone and live a second life for 12 years. You don't love someone and lie to their face every single day. The child from the other family, she was innocent. I never blamed her. I still don't. She didn't choose to be born into this. She didn't ask for her father to be a coward. And maybe one day I'll meet her. Maybe we'll talk. Or maybe we won't. That's up to her. But she deserves to know the truth too. As for my mom, she changed. Not all at once, but slowly, beautifully. She dyed her hair. She started going on walks every morning. She laughed more. She cried less. She started doing all the things she put on hold for him, taking cooking classes, reading romance novels, planning a solo trip to the coast. And one night, while we were sitting on the porch, watching the sun go down, she turned to me and said, "You didn't just save me. You reminded me who I was before I became someone's second choice." That hit me like a wave. Because the truth is, I didn't just expose my father. I helped my mom resurrect herself. And in doing that, I found my own strength too. The kind of strength that comes from ripping off the mask. The kind that says, I will never again stay silent for someone else's comfort. Not for a man. Not for appearances. Not for a lie dressed up as love. We lost a father, but we gained freedom, and we would never let it go again. It took a few months before the dust finally began to settle. The house was quieter now, but not in that heavy, grief-stricken way. It was the kind of silence that felt earned, like peace finally had permission to exist. My mom and I developed a rhythm. We had dinners without tiptoeing around someone's mood. We watched shows without checking the clock to see when he'd come home. For the first time, our home felt like ours. But just when I thought the storm had passed, it came back in the form of a wedding invitation. Not mine, not my mom's, hers, the other woman. It arrived in a pale pink envelope, addressed to my dad, but delivered here, his former home. My mom held it like it was radioactive. When she opened it and read the names, her hands started to shake, not because of heartbreak, because of rage. The woman, his mistress for over a decade, was marrying him. It was official. They were public now, open, proud. He hadn't wasted a second. There was a small insert tucked into the invitation. We ask that only close friends and family attend this intimate celebration of love. Family. He'd built another one, and we were just debris. My mom handed me the invitation and said, "Burn it." But I didn't, not yet. I held on to it, because deep down, I knew one thing. He was trying to rewrite the story, erase the betrayal, start fresh, like nothing ever happened. Make her the official chapter and pretend we were the typo. No, I wouldn't let that happen, because he hadn't just broken a family, he had tried to bury the truth underneath a ceremony, and I had one final move left. I picked up my phone, opened Instagram, and posted a photo. Just one. A side-by-side of me and the girl, his other daughter. Same chin, same eyes. Caption with only 5 words, "We were never a secret." It went viral within hours. And just like that, his fairy tale started to rot. Because you can have a wedding, you can throw flowers over the lies, you can call it love. But when the truth is louder than your vows, everyone hears it, even the ones clapping. The aftermath was instant. Comments poured in, some from strangers, some from people who knew exactly who I was talking about. Old coworkers of my dad, extended relatives, even a few people who had quietly suspected something for years but never had the proof or the nerve to speak up. Wait, is this about Rob? I always wondered how he managed to travel so much. I thought that girl looked like you. And then the message came. From her, the woman, the one marrying him, the one who posted 12 years of happy photos while my mom waited at home, loving a man who never even flinched when he lied. She messaged me like we were equals, like we were co-authors in this disaster. I had no idea he was still married to your mom. I thought they divorced years ago. I'm so sorry. Please don't ruin the wedding. We've already been through so much. So much? So much what? So much deception? So much time playing house while mine was crumbling? I didn't respond. I just screenshot her message and posted that too. No caption, just facts. Because if you're gonna live a lie, you don't get to ask for privacy when the truth comes knocking. My dad tried calling, I didn't pick up. He left a voicemail. I understand you're upset, but this is my life now. I hope in time you can accept it. Accept it? He wanted me to accept being erased. He wanted my mother to accept that he rewrote their marriage as a footnote. He wanted the world to forget the damage and just admire the ring. No, I wouldn't be silenced. I wouldn't pretend that this was just the way things go. Because this wasn't a breakup. This was a demolition. And people needed to know what it looked like to build a castle on top of someone else's broken foundation. So I kept posting, not out of vengeance, but out of defiance. For every daughter who was told to just move on, for every mother who was left behind with nothing but a fake smile and a shattered home. This wasn't about ruining their wedding. It was about making sure they never forgot who paid the price for their happiness. And they would never forget. A week before the wedding, I received a letter, handwritten, unmarked envelope, no return address. But I knew the handwriting. It was my dad's. I didn't open it right away. I stared at it for hours, wondering what excuse, what plea, what carefully worded manipulation he had scribbled inside. Finally, late that night, I sat alone in the living room and peeled it open. It was short. I never meant to hurt you or your mother. I know you'll never believe that, but it's the truth. I thought I could manage both lives. I told myself I was doing it for you, for her, for everyone. But the truth is, I was doing it for me. Because I was weak, because I liked feeling needed. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know that despite it all, I've always loved you. There it was. No real apology. No admission of how deep the damage ran. Just that cowardly blend of guilt and justification. He said he loved me, but love without honesty, without loyalty, without respect isn't love. It's possession. It's convenience. And in that moment, I realized something that hit harder than anything else. I didn't miss him. Not the man he truly was. I missed the version of him I thought existed. The fantasy, the lie, the man who taught me how to ride a bike, who packed my lunches, who told bedtime stories. That man was real in my memories. But he never actually existed. Not fully, not honestly. The wedding happened the next weekend. I didn't go. Neither did my mom. But we didn't hide either. That same day, she and I drove up the coast to a small town she always wanted to visit but never did, because he didn't like long drives. We rented a little Airbnb, walked by the ocean, laughed at seagulls stealing people's fries. She wore a sundress and sunglasses and looked 10 years lighter. She turned to me at dinner and said, "If I had known I'd feel this free, I would have let go long ago." I smiled. We both would have. And in that moment, surrounded by salty air and the smell of grilled seafood, we toasted, not to revenge, not to endings, but to beginnings. Because while he was standing at an altar, repeating vows none of us would ever believe again, we were reclaiming the life he never thought we'd find without him. And the truth? We were better off without the lie. A few days after the wedding, I got another message, this time from someone unexpected. It was her, the girl, my half-sister. She was just 16. Her message was hesitant, polite, and heartbreaking all at once. "Hi, I'm sorry to bother you. I saw the posts. I didn't know about you or your mom. I didn't know he had another family. I'm really confused. I don't know what to think anymore." I stared at my phone for a long time. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. What could I even say? She was just a kid. She didn't ask for this. She didn't choose to be born into a lie. And the anger I felt toward my father, it wasn't hers to carry. So I replied, "You're not the problem. He is. You didn't do anything wrong. You deserve the truth, just like I did. And if you ever want to talk," she responded almost instantly. "Thank you. I've always felt like something was off. He would disappear for days sometimes. And when I asked, Mom said he was working, but he always seemed different when he came back. Distant. Guilty." Reading her words felt like looking into a younger version of myself, trying to make sense of a man who never told the whole truth. I realized then that maybe this wasn't just about closure. Maybe it was about connection, healing. Not for him, but for us. Over the next few weeks, we kept messaging. Carefully, slowly. I shared pieces of my story. She shared hers. We compared birthdays, timelines, tiny moments that didn't seem significant until we saw them side by side. And one night, she wrote something that stopped me cold. I always thought he loved us, but now I'm not sure he ever really loved anyone, just the way he felt when we looked at him like he was perfect. She was 16, and already she saw him clearly. That message didn't make me angry. It made me grieve, not for him, but for all the pieces of our lives he'd stolen. The lies he told me, the lies he told her, the love we gave him that he never earned. But in that grief, I also felt something else. Hope. Because even if we were born into his mess, we weren't going to stay in it. We were breaking the cycle, and somehow, in the ashes of his secrets, we found something he never expected. Each other. The first time we met in person, it was quiet. No drama, no shouting, just two girls sitting on a park bench, trying to figure out what it meant to share blood without sharing a childhood. She was nervous. I was too. But when she smiled, it was like looking in a mirror. Same chin, same dimple, same eyes filled with questions we were never meant to ask. "I don't know how to hate you," she said softly. "I thought I would, but I don't." I shook my head. "Me either. You're not the one who lied." We sat for hours, talking, laughing, crying. It was strange how easy it was to connect when we were supposed to be the product of betrayal. But maybe that's the thing men like him never count on. That sometimes the truth doesn't destroy everything. Sometimes it sets new things free. I told her about my childhood, about family vacations, about my mom and how hard she fought to keep us whole, even when she had no idea the other half of our father's life was being spent somewhere else. She told me about her own confusion, about nights when he promised to be home and never was, about the guilt her mother carried, about how, after everything came out, she started asking questions no one wanted to answer. "He said we were his only family," she whispered. He looked me in the eye when he said it. I nodded. He looked me in the eye too. And just like that, the last piece of the story fell into place. It was never about which of us he loved more. It was about a man who only loved himself enough to build two lives and commit to neither. Later, as we hugged goodbye, she turned and said, "Do you think we could be sisters for real?" I smiled, genuinely. We already are. Not because of him, in spite of him. That night, I went home and sat beside my mom, telling her everything. She didn't cry. She just nodded, proud and exhausted. "You're better than he'll ever be," she said, and so is she. And in that quiet living room, surrounded by the wreckage of who we thought he was, I realized something powerful. The truth didn't break us. It made space for something stronger. 2 daughters, 1 mother rebuilt, and a bond that could never have existed if the lie hadn't finally been dragged into the light. He tried to erase us, but we found each other. And that was the real beginning.